Well, hello, sports fans. It's Athletics Chat number 93. The good looking guy in the center of the picture is Stuart Weir in the intellectual capital of the world. Ensconced in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, the cheese capital of the world, is none other than I, Larry Eater. Thank you for watching your favorite program of the week. Yeah, we've been doing this now for, oh my gosh, almost 2 years, Stuart. Can you believe it?
Yes, yes.
Thank you for your patience.
What happens when we get to 100?
Yes.
What happens when we get to 100? I mean, will it be a celebration and a cake? And
I think we need at least a T-shirt for the three of us.
Yeah.
So I've got to start working on that. Okay. Let me just put that down in my little book right here. Okay. Here we go. So Jack Buckner is now the new CEO of, let me get it right, UK Athletics, which is also British Athletics, correct? Am I?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, we don't have time to discuss the difference between UK athletics and British athletics.
Okay.
I mean, the context that people probably know that up until 2017, British athletics, UK athletics was very stable, with Ed Warner as chair and Niels de Vos as CEO for 8 years. And then we both left in 2017. And there has been really a succession of short-term acting interim people in the roles. Then there was Joe Coates. He did many good things, but there was a kind of consensus that he had not done the most important things, like move the sport forward and gain the confidence of people, and also that he got rid of a lot of staff who were brilliant people. So Jack Buckner, first of all, is a credible athlete who has won medals on the world stage. And since retiring, he has been the CEO of British Swimming and triathlon. So he's got governance CEO experience. He's also worked for a large shoe manufacturer at one stage. And he's a man of the sport, which again was the major criticism of Joe Coates and Sarah Symington, that they didn't really get track and field athletics, and clearly Jack does. You referred in a post to the AW Jason Henderson article, in which he had said if there had been a vote among the rank and file club athletes, that Jack would have been a clear winner. So again, that's a good thing, that it's a popular appointment. And what particularly pleased me is that Mr. Monroe, who was the interim CEO, Mark is staying on in a new role as Chief Operating Officer. So rather than just going back to his development role, he's actually going to be part of the executive. And I mean, again, for personal reasons, he chose not to throw his hat in the ring. But I think a lot of people have been impressed with him and would have been very happy for him to get the job. So the fact that he's going to have a role is all very positive.
No, it's, I had a couple conversations with people who knew him during his time as an athlete and knew him in his time at Adidas, and he was well respected. And I was chatting with a friend over the weekend, Mark Bosserdett, who knew Jack while he was at Reebok and also at Nike. Mark was at Nike, and Bosserdett made the comment that having been in UK swimming and I guess UK triathlon, he's kind of come up the ranks. And besides being a fine athlete, the European gold medalist at the 5,000 world bronze, and then a Commonwealth silver back in 86, 87. He's really back to a sport that he loves, which I think is wonderful. And hats off to Ian Beattie and Mark Monroe also on how they have orchestrated this huge paradigm change, I think. I mean, again, like you, Joe Coates, I think, meant very, very well. I think the challenge for her was not knowing the sport. And we see this every day in the running business. We also see it in especially federation and sports work, where they bring someone from outside of the sport saying, yeah, we need innovation, but they don't know enough about the sport to appreciate the complexities and how to deal with things. Yes, we need innovation, but we need people who get the sport too. And I kick myself every time I see some group thinking, oh my gosh, we've got something new. We're going to bring someone in and manage a sport, an athletic sports federation or a running brand, and they fall on their face. And it's not because they're not wonderfully bright and creative people. The American country singer Jimmy Buffett once said, don't try to describe a Kiss concert if you've never been there. And I'm going to try to make a parallel that running is much more complicated than it looks. And I've watched virtually every brand in the US go through these cycles. Nike's going through that again now. Adidas is in a place, where they're doing running. The one who gets it right is Brooks, quite frankly. Some of these brands like Brooks and On and New Balance, they have invested in the grassroots, and they know, yeah, we can do some stuff with basketball or this, but running is our bread and butter. And those are the brands that seem to do the best. And I really think in the federation world, get people who understand the sport. And a lot of times in the US and most recently in the UK, we see people coming in who may have gobs of experience in music and all kinds of things. And I think their creative approach can really help. But at least they need a confidant who can tell you, hey, look, this is what you're dealing with in running. And I've used the term ombudsman before. And in English, that just means someone to tell you when you're full of it, And I think that I hope that Jack will surround himself with people who will tell him, hey, great idea. Here's where to go. But I think with someone like Buckner, everybody makes mistakes. And if they don't, then they're not doing their job. But hopefully Jack will make mistakes that are, I wish him all the success. And I think he will be very successful. But make the mistakes that shows you understand the darn sport. You're trying to take us somewhere else. Let's not start, at place 1 or 2. That was my complaints about Joe Coates and Ms. Symington. Some of the athletes that were picked for the support program, I was just like going, what is going on? And I think my big concern right now is your relay program, the 4x400, especially on the men's side. I think on the women's side, they'll grow into it. If they can, there's some athletes like, Jody Williams and stuff who, for example, who have incredible talent. Jess Knight, your 400-meter hurdler, I think she's got some serious wheels. Could they use someone like an Elliot Doyle telling them how to do it? Yeah. Or Christina Haragu saying, hey, look, this is stuff you got to watch out for. And I hope they do that. In the U.S., back in the 90s, they had a thing called the Visa Decathlon program. It was the best program USATF ever did. And part of it was because they weren't really involved. Fred Samara, the coach at Princeton, and Harry Mara, who coached Ashton Eaton, put together the 10 top decathletes every year. They had the blessing from John Bennett, who was the chairman at Visa. John was a total track hound. And what he did was he took a couple commercials off his TV thing. It was probably 2.5, 3 million, put it in where he got these guys funding, took care of their health care, they could train. And from 1990 to when, USATF kind of screwed it up about 98, really did some things for them. And we saw a significant number of medals. I always thought that could be translated into other events and getting a non-running sponsor to adopt an event, and hopefully someday someone will do that. Love to see that done in the UK. You guys have got some creative companies, and maybe Jack's the guy to do those kind of things. So,
I think the big issue now is to appoint a new performance director, technical director, as they're calling him. Just to get the right person there, because Jack is obviously not going to be the person running the elite program. So we've got to get that right. And again, you see the problem with Sarah Symington, who seemed to think that because she had done the job in netball and had been in the youth cyclist, that she understood the complexity of track and field, and all the evidence was that sadly she didn't.
Yeah, no, it was very frustrating from even over here and not knowing your complexities, but appreciating having spent some time going to your meets and talking to folks, how far off that group was. And I believe that one of the positives with Jack is he knows what he's getting into, and he knows what challenges face him, and he still wants to do it. That's pretty cool, Any new and exciting news from from your lovely country right now in terms of running?
Not really. In the way that they like to do, they're gradually giving us different names who are going to be running in the Birmingham Diamond League, which sounds as if it's going to be a very impressive meet. Of course, it will be the first meet in the newly renovated and developed Alexander Stadium, which will see 5 days of action during the Commonwealth Games. I think that's the main thing that's coming out. I think it's just that all indications that Birmingham is going to be a great meet, and it is, of course, the only Diamond League in the UK this year, because the timings meant that the timings of the World Championship in Oregon meant that the London Anniversary Games couldn't be staged, because the deal with the old Olympic Stadium is that it's only available in July for athletics, and because that suggested when Oregon was taking place, it wasn't going to work. So that it's important that the Birmingham is a good event, and all indications are that it will be.
There were a couple of marathons in the UK this weekend, and you had some pretty decent times. Is it a gentleman named, is it Johnny Malore, or how do you pronounce his name? There was, I guess was it Manchester this weekend at a marathon?
Yes. I haven't really caught up on that.
And you guys have had. So it's my big question probably is, more than anything, I just saw an article where they were talking about Mo competing in the World Champs in Eugene. Is that just a dream? What are you hearing?
Mo has said nothing other than that he's going to run this road 10K in London. I would be surprised, because last year he wanted to get to the Olympics, and he just found that his legs were not able to produce the time that he needed. And he's a year older. He's 38, 39. He doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. If he gets to Oregon, he won't enhance his reputation. If he tries to get to Oregon and fails the way he did with Tokyo. He may feel he's embarrassing himself. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting really that Mo was so dominant on the 5 and 10K on the track. Didn't really manage to make the transition to marathon anything like at the level that he hoped to. I mean, he won Chicago, but just that was his only success. And you could say that he had in the most amazing career to 2011 to 2017, perhaps you might say, when he was almost unbeatable. But it then sort of came to an end, and the marathons haven't quite worked. The track comeback didn't really work. I mean, nothing to do with what I think, but in a way, I would hope perhaps that he didn't try, because I don't see the evidence yet that he's going to succeed.
Yeah, no. It's you made a great point about is he going to add to his legacy? Is he going to take away from it? I think he's got a few more years at the marathon distance, and he can make a good paycheck there, which I think was kind of the way he was trying to take it. But Mr. Kipchoge doesn't look like he's going anywhere, and there's enough fast marathoners out there.
I mean, an analogy, perhaps, if I could bring up tennis. The British tennis player Andy Murray was one of the 2 or 3 best in the world. He won Wimbledon, he won other big tournaments, he reached finals. Then he had serious hip surgery, and he's nothing like at the level he was, but he continues to play. And he loses in the 2nd or 3rd round often. And I'm really quite fascinated as to what motivates him, because it's not money. And I wonder if he really believe that he can actually get back and be the number 1 in the world. I have the same kind of thoughts about Mo. What is he trying to achieve? Why is he doing it? Does he really believe that he can become the best in the world at the 10K again, as he was? Does he think that not only can he get in the British team, run the qualifying time, but be competitive when he gets to Oregon? Because, again, even if he had got to the Olympics, I don't think he would be one of the serious medal contenders. And again, I have a question in my mind: is he okay with that? Why does he want to do it? Or perhaps does he actually believe that he can beat everyone in sight and win? I don't know. As they say, he hasn't told me.
Oh, darn. No, I saw every one of his major races except the 2010 European champs. And I remember watching him in Daegu come oh so close in the 10. And then after that, how tough he was over that distance. But there was the confidence in the race and how he ran. And he stayed out of trouble, got up to the front. When he needed to move, he needed to move. And those are gears that one wonders, does he have them? And that's the challenge. And I think that we'll have to wait and see. I thought he would be much more successful at the marathon distance, but I think the challenge is, and I recall Eliud Kipchoge talking about how it really took him a couple years to get into the training on the roads, which is different. The volume is higher, to be able to deal with that, to change a little bit. I mean, Haile Gebrselassie got a treadmill in front of a mirror to change his stride pattern a little bit so he didn't beat himself up so much. Because I recall, what Haile took him 6 or 7 marathons to figure out what he could do, you know. So it'll be interesting to see if he can do it. We still get a kick out of him. He's a huge draw. We put some pictures up of him last month, and he even responded, and that was kind of fun. One of my favorite Mo stories is my brother Brian and I were at Gateshead for the Great North Half, and I think it's got to be 2013 or 14. And we went to the football club in town, who Greg Rutherford's, I think, his grandfather competed for. And then Greg and Mo were there, and my brother had put his camera down, and Mo came over and was talking with Brian about the camera, and he said, "Can I take a picture of you guys?" And he took this wondrous picture of my brother and I, still my favorite picture of us. And I'll tell you, he really did a great job, and just very relaxed, very comfortable with us. He's always been, I've watched him get thrown to the wolves a few times, and I didn't like that. And I recall another time in 15 when he was under a lot of pressure. I think it was Cathal Dennehy and myself, in about 35 questions at this presser, were the only two that talked about track. And he looked at Cathal and me and said, you're talking to me about track? Well, hold on. And it was kind of, he's being a little sarcastic because he was so annoyed by this time, right? But he answered our questions, which was great. And, it's like at times I feel that what our readers want to hear is why these guys are racing, why these guys are doing this. And sometimes I don't have all the information to ask the boldest question. So I'd rather talk to them about what I know and what they know, and instead of kind of beat them up in front of everybody. I'm not sure what that accomplishes. Let's talk about Ryan Krauser for a minute. That was, I still think, going back on the World Indoors, may have been the biggest upset of the entire meet. I was surprised also that Ua Sabota did not medal, I have to admit. But I'm glad that Ryan medaled. Darlin Romani, who is just a really nice guy, had been oh so close for a half dozen years. So for him to win, no one can be angry at him. And I'll tell you, he has this, when he concentrates, his eyes look like Marty Feldman from Young Frankenstein a little bit. And we posted a bunch of those pictures up, and people loved him, So, but what do you think about, what are Ryan's chances in Eugene?
Well, I totally agree with you. It was, to me, was soft because, he's been unbeaten last year, world record holder. Did he just have an off day? I would expect him. I would still say he's the favorite for you.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think that he will go into that in that fashion as well. What do you think about the women's pole vault, one of our favorite events? You've got Holly Bradshaw, you've got Katie Najut, you've got Sandy Morris, but you've got also a plethora of other world players. If Anzelika Sidorova gets to compete, and she is a fantastic athlete, but also, unfortunately, the non-affiliated athletes from Belarus and Russia are not going to be allowed to compete. President Ko had to, put his foot down, and we respect that. In fact, we're posting me spouting off for 17 minutes about why it's a good decision and putting a little historical perspective into it.
I think that what Belgrade showed us is that hitting the job is the Olympic champion, but she's got no divine right to keep winning. And I mean, Katie had the 100% record, and Sandy had a failure. So that if everyone continued like that, Katie would win on contact. But then suddenly Sandy, who of course had been injured during the Tokyo Olympics, just produced the big community, just as if saying, actually, I'm around, you may be the Olympic champion, but I'm still a fierce competitor. I chatted to Katie afterwards, and it's lovely that they are fierce rivals, but also friends and training partners. And I joked with Katie that she shouldn't have let Sandy come and train with her and learn all the secrets.
Sure. No, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think each event will have some things that are pretty cool about it too. So
I think that and both Katie and Holly have said that really the end of their careers and so they're on their last sort of series almost. Like they both want to go on to Paris, and that will probably be the end. And I just thought that might also be good for Sandy. So it'll be an interesting couple of years with each of them trying to see how they can end their career. And they certainly made the women's pole vault a really interesting discipline to watch.
that's I think that makes a ton of sense. What do you see? So this year we will have Eugene. 2023 we're going to have a world champs in Budapest. 2024 we're going to have a Olympics in Paris. We've got a busy few years, and then this summer we've got the European champs in Munich at the end of the summer, and the Commonwealth Games at the beginning of August. How do you think British athletes will juggle that?
I think it obviously depends on what your event is, because if you're a sprinter, then doing all three is okay. Some in the middle distance, like Jake and Elliot, have talked about doing their main event at 3:03, and the other event, Jake doing an 800 at 1:03 and 15 with the other, and Elliot doing a 15 plus 2:08. And you think Keely Hutchinson asked about this in Belgrade, said, I'm definitely doing the World Championship. I'm definitely targeting the World Championship. I definitely want to do the Commonwealth Games because it's in England. And I definitely want to do the European, but I have to see what state my body is in and what my body is saying to me after I've done the other two. And I think there'll be a lot of athletes who will be taking that attitude, just saying, well, I just have to see what state I'm in and whether my body is saying, no, I've had enough.
No, I think that I think that it's fascinating to see it's not just the physical, but the psychological, the spiritual for athletes to come together and how much they can do. And it's going to be interesting to see. I think that Katie was battling with some real demons after she won the gold medal. Sandy had some challenges as well. And it's just that I think that both are in a place where it'll be a very interesting battle in Eugene. Both are in a place where it'll be a very interesting battle in Budapest. And both are in a place where it could be a fascinating battle in Paris, and it's there's always going to be surprises. Last Thursday, I put a tweet up and I said, who's going to win 100 in Eugene? And I put Marcel Jacobs, and I put Christian Coleman, and then I put the big surprise. Marcel was at 17.5, Christian was at 17.5, and 62% was the big surprise. So our readers, think that, like, we do, that it can change up until who's running at that line. I mean, in Tokyo, I think a lot of people thought that with the amazing Fred was running, and the amazing way that the Chinese kid Sung Bin Chuan, who had set a Chinese record in the semis, wow. And Marcel ran his race. He did that thing we were watching him do indoors where over that last part of the race, he gets himself into a gear and, his stride pattern has changed. His arms are a little lower. He is stronger than heck. And he competes. And I think it's going to be tough for anybody to beat him, but it'll be fun to watch,
It will.
And that's part of what I think we're trying to do here, and it's just, celebrating the sport. So it keeps it interesting. And I think in Eugene, there'll be a lot of Americans there who this is their swan song. They wanted to retire after an event in the U.S. I remember talking to Allison about L.A., and she said she'd love to have done it, but she doesn't know. She's got to take it 1 year at a time. I don't really see her competing that long, but who knows, But there are some young athletes now, Keely Hodgkinson and I think, they'll be at the top of their game in 2028, And what's the world going to be like? And, I was at the LA Olympics in 84. That was a bit of time ago, 44 years difference. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. But I think we're going to have an exciting world champs in Eugene. I think a lot of people are going to be staying in Portland because I'm not sure they're going to find housing in Springfield or Eugene. I suggest some of the little towns outside of there, Aurora and some of the other places. There'll be some cute little farm communities that maybe they can find places there too. So it's going to be a rather rural world championships, but I think it'll be a lot of fun, and maybe you and I can have coffee there, my friend,
Okay.
Me too. Well, you survived another athletics chat. This was number 93, Stuart. Thank you so much.
Right.
Thanks
Okay.
for your time in your evening. I hope you get to watch some good stuff on Netflix tonight and maybe have a nice glass of wine. But stay safe, my friend, and we'll see you next week for Athletics Chat 94. Thank you to Mike Deering, our creative and production manager at the Shoe Addicts, for managing both of us, which is no mean feat. And this is Larry Eater for Stuart Weir. So long to Athletics Chat number 93. Stay safe. Hey, sports fans, Larry Eater, RunBlogRun. Athletics Chat 93. This is the epilogue where I wax poetically for up to 5 minutes before Mike Deering, our creative and production manager of the Shoe Addicts, sends a little taser, via the digital waves. And, I jump up in my whoopee cushion. Anyway, Stuart was in lovely Oxford, England, the intellectual capital of the world. I am in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, the cheese and beer capital of the world, and a lot of nice walleye fishing right now, just so you know, because the water is changing and all those things. But I've digressed. Today we're talking about several things. One, Jack Buckner, the 1987 world champ, bronze medalist at 5,000, 1986 Commonwealth silver, European gold at 5,000, and former head of UK Triathlon and UK Swimming, will now be the new CEO of UK Athletics. We at RunBlogRun think that is absolutely fantastic. Jack comes highly recommended. Many people remember him from his athletic days, and many people know him from his time at UK Triathlon and UK Swimming, where I understand he did find jobs in both and has built up to be able to come back to his sport. And that's thanks to Sir Ian Beattie and also Mark Monroe. And Mark will be staying on working with Jack, underneath Jack, at UK Athletics. We think that's a good thing. UK Athletics is one of the top 4 or 5 athletic federations in the world. One of the big stories over the last 2 decades has been the resurrection of UK Athletics from absolute crap at the end of the 90s. And kind of an up and down, as all federations are. Great funding came about thanks to Sir Alan Pascoe and his team at Fast Track. And then there was a time when their expertise was not needed, they claimed, by UK Athletics, and UK Athletics fell into some disarray. The group now, Sir Ian Beattie and Mark Monroe, over the last 6 to 8 months, have purposely and methodically tried to rebuild UK Athletics and putting people in the right places. Cherry Alexander, for one, heading up meat development, and also both Mark Monroe and Mr. Beattie, letting it be known that they want up to 6 major meets in the UK. And for many years, I went to 2 indoor, 3 outdoor, a Commonwealth Games, all kinds of fun stuff. And I loved every minute I was in the UK, learning how smart people put on very effective meets and how they bring in more than track fans, which is something we need to learn about doing in the US. I think that Jack, who understands the sport, will do a fine job. Let's give him some time. Everybody makes mistakes, but the cool thing about Mr. Buckner will be that guy understands track and field. He understands running. He's had a lifetime in athletics. So he will make mistakes like everybody else does. But if you don't make mistakes, then you're not doing your job, quite frankly. That's just the way it is in the world. Okay, let's talk about, we chatted a little bit about today too, Ryan Krauser, probably the biggest upset at the World Indoors. Ryan showed a lot of class in the way he handled it. Darlan Romani from Brazil, guy's taken 4th and 5th so many times. I have to take my shoes off to count. So it's nice to see him win a big medal, and well liked, well respected, and he put it together on the right day. Will Ryan be busting his chops to make sure that in Eugene he gets the result that he wants? I believe so. I think that'll make it very exciting. One of the events that's going to be a lot of fun is the women's pole vault. Men's pole vault's going to be pretty crazy too, with Mondo Duplantis and Chris Nielsen and Casey Lightfoot, among others. But on the women's side, you have Katie Najut, the Olympic champion, Sandy Morris, the 2018-2022 World Indoor Champion. I don't think we'll have Anzelika Sidorova, but that's because her country decided to invade another sovereign country, and there's no excuse for that in this world, in our global village. So President Coe and John Ridgen done their jobs. The sport's more than being about running, jumping, and throwing. We are the second most popular sport in the world. We just need to get some of the money that some of these other sports get, so we can help build coaching, give athletes opportunities, build some tracks around the world. And we'll do that by getting non-track fans watching the sport on terrestrial TV and on streaming. And the way to do that is you got to make the sport exciting. I think the sport has good things inside it. The issue is this: how do you produce it? How do you direct it? How do you communicate that? I've got to tell you again that I love Peacock TV and the way they did it. No commercials. Rob Walker and Hannah England and Jenny Meadows did a fantastic job. Those are the only 3 that I saw through Peacock. I didn't see the NBC broadcast. I'll go back and take a look at that too. I know Otto and the team are wonderful, but I really liked just the pace, the direction, in all the track we got to see. I hope Peacock finds a couple sponsors to say, hey, you know what? We're going to put an ad at the front. We're going to put an ad at the back. That's the kind of things you need to do. And go on a few more interviews too. But we've got exciting athletes in this sport with great stories. We've got really amazing coaches. We're going to be interviewing a whole bunch of them this week on RunBlogRun, and we're quite excited about that. And we've got unbelievable venues. Eugene, Oregon is going to be a real kick. The biggest issue there is housing. So I encourage folks who want to go to stay in the dorms, to find an Airbnb, and maybe you got to drive 30 or 40 miles. There's all these cute little towns all around Eugene. And Portland, quite frankly, is just 2 hours away. And yes, you can do it. There's more than enough Dutch Brothers coffee shops so you can get your drug of choice and just zoom up the highway. Or zoom down the highway, whichever way you want to do it. Anywho's, this is the epilogue for Athletics Chat number 93. Thank you again to our creative and production manager from the Shoe Addicts, Mike Deering, who manages all these for us. Thanks to Stuart Weir for putting up with us at about, 10 o'clock his time in lovely Oxford. And thank you for watching this. And please pass it on to your friends. Remember to run, jump, or throw today. Stay safe. Tell someone you love them. Talk to you soon.